You're copping out. You're giving me 12 minutes of Family Guy and 8 minutes of Conway Twitty.
That is a little bit of a cop-out. Hey, guys, this is RJ with 60 Grit Radio. I'm here with Kevin. How you doing tonight, Kevin?
I'm doing well.
That's rad.
Always.
You got home kind of late, long day at work?
Oh, yeah. Fridays are kind of long for me.
Same here. That's actually why we are like 2 days late now. I do apologize for the one person out there that might follow this career attempt. I just my actual job was just fucking unruly, man. I started every morning pretty early, and I wasn't getting home till like 8 or 9 at night. And I didn't have cell phone reception. I've been cut off from the outside world like entirely. I've been, you know where Waverly is?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I've been down in like the hills of Waverly where you can see mountains surrounding you. And you're like, oh shit, you were out here. Like you are still cut off from the outside world.
Oh, yeah. I like it out there, but also, yeah, that's the bad news. You don't have you are disconnected quite easily.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, as the internet like progresses, if it's still gonna have to be like landlines to some places, 'cause you're not the only other option they have is satellite, and for a lot of things, it's just not that good. Basically, online gaming. That's really all it's not very good for. But I don't know. It's enough of an importance to me that I'm never moving to that area in my life.
Yeah, that would be the downside, and I can relate to your pain 'cause I don't have Wi-Fi at work, so I'm always disconnected from what we do. That's why I'm glad that we have some people on third shifts that can help pull some of the weight during the day. I often feel disconnected. I have to catch up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We were able to collect a lot of stuff for this episode.
Oh yeah,
That's
we
the
got
upside.
yeah. For sure. The most recent thing was the Gary Johnson gaffe is what they're calling it. And like I come out kind of both ways on this one. But
That's what you said, yeah.
I know you were wanting to say it, you might as well have just said it. But no. Yeah, I kind of go both ways with it, so I feel like we should probably just watch the original gaffe video. Just like watch out for it to be like set up. And by set up, I mean, like, the question. 'Cause at first you're like, yeah, man, like, what the fuck kind of answer is this? But if you, like, look at the way the question is posed, it's not how you pose a question in a, like, interview. You know what I mean? It's definitely a gotcha question. But he should be ready for gotcha questions. I don't know. We should probably just...
You should have people at least on staff that are preparing him for gotcha question. You know, he should be preparing for these, right? You would think. Everybody else does.
You would think. Or, I might as well just say it now, read the fucking newspaper. 'Cause that's how I know about it. It's not like I study, like, ancient history or, like, I'm only reading, like, a foreign affairs journal or something like that. It's in the news every fucking day. And, like, I'm all about... I'm not really an isolationist, but... I'm all about not interfering. So, yeah, I can see the libertarian candidate being like, what the fuck should I do about Aleppo? It's not my, like, we fucked up Aleppo. Maybe we should quit fucking around with Aleppo instead of... But that's not where he went, and that's why I'm a little disappointed in him. Just because, again, even though when I say I'm a libertarian, it's with a little L. It's not really, like, party affiliation. When people think of libertarian, they think of Gary Johnson. Or they're going to, because he's in the limelight.
And that's the sad part.
So, yeah, and that's what sucks to me because, like, even though I don't want him to represent me, like, everybody that knows I'm a libertarian, anytime he fucks up, laughs at me for it. And I'm like, wait, hold up, listen to my podcast. Because I'm just not a fan. But, yeah, we'll just transition to the video instead of talking about it.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No. Category.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
Freeze frame.
Hold up. But no, like, but the beginning of the question there, what would you do about Aleppo? And, like, he's like, Aleppo? And, like, most of the
You're
time
kidding.
No.
I should not be handed the mouse for anything. Once, like, if you watch an interview, normally, like, they'll be like, so this, and this happened in Aleppo recently. What would you do about it? It's not just, what would you do about Aleppo? And a lot of people are bringing up the Sarah Palin gaffe from a while back, which she handled a lot better, and everybody else has shown. So we're not gonna. But you've seen it.
What? Yeah, so I would say at least you would expect something along the lines of what would you do about the recent events in Aleppo? Something, you know, because normally
what would you do about this tiny city in Syria? I mean, it's a major city. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, exactly.
there's usually some kind of lead. The idea, supposedly for the journalist, is to get the objective opinion. And so, yeah, it seems like he's leading. You know, this felt almost like the way this reminded me of how a prosecutor would cross-examine here. You know, just sort of like, I'm just going to throw it out there and let you kind of give you enough rope to hang yourself. And see
I know you don't remember where you were on September 9th 3 years ago, but I'm going to ask you about it like you should know. And that's exactly what he does. And he is ready. He is on top of it. When he's like Aleppo, he's like Aleppo. You know what I mean? Like, he is not like...
Yeah, he's not helpful.
No, not at all. And like, if a good interview, like if you wanted an actual response and you weren't here for a gotcha, he would have been like, well, you know, like some shit's gone wrong in Aleppo recently. What would you do to make the situation?
Yeah, you would toss him a line.
Because like I couldn't find video on YouTube to pull to show of like prior in this, but supposedly like this wasn't a quick fire like succession questionnaire. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like he's been getting fed questions there that he was just supposed to like answer quickly and then move on to the next question. Like it was a pretty decent interview up till this point. And then at this point he's just like, what would you do about this tiny, like ask him what he would do about Cambridge, Ohio. Where he's going to have the same exact response at first, like, unless you read the newspaper, and that's where I'm a little bit pissed. Like, I think if he, like, gave a fuck about, like, being the president, maybe you should read the newspapers, especially since you know you're getting, like, interviewed every fucking day at this point. And I wonder if he started smoking weed again. I'll just say it. You know, if we can talk about Hillary's health all day, but he's had several times now where he just seems stoned to me.
That or he's just really dumb, and you'd like to think that a man in this position wouldn't be that dumb.
Oh yeah, you're right. We should just start over because we've
people are
talked about
screaming
this
George Bush into their headsets right now.
I guess he has some comments recently comments that he made about George Bush recently came out, but we're not getting into those tonight.
Category.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About.
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No.
Aleppo is in Syria. It's the epicenter of the refugee crisis.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Well, with regard to Syria, I do think that it's a mess. I think that the only way that we deal with Syria is to join hands with Russia to diplomatically bring that at an end.
So here's where like you're like, okay, Gary, you got it. You figured out what he was talking about. Like, make your comeback here. Okay, so you know it's in Syria now. You get your position out on Syria. Okay, you've practiced this, right, Gary? And his immediate thing is join hands with Russia.
Right.
You're
exactly
like,
what America wants.
You literally, you see like my heart pumping, like getting excited, and then suddenly he just like flatlines the shit. He's just like, yeah, okay, I'm ready now. I'm not that dumb. And then he's like, but I'm really not a libertarian, so we should join hands with Russia. And I'm like, fuck you, man. You might as well be Trump. Just stop it. Just stop this. I'm gonna go on.
But when we've aligned ourselves with, when we've supported the opposition, the Free Syrian Army, the Free Syrian.
Is Russia not the opposition? Is it not another member in this fucking conflict that's not even from the fucking, like, general area, really?
Shouldn't his platform be that none of them are really the opposition because it's not our business to be there?
Yeah, no doubt.
Isn't that what he should be saying?
I got you. He could go so many directions, but I'm just mad about the direction he went. Like, it's almost like... Again, he doesn't understand the philosophy.
Well, that's all I was trying to say.
Exactly.
Isn't this like like a complete 180 from what you would want him to say if he were representing your party? Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe like this isn't even a compromise. That's what I was trying to point out. It's just like how polarized this is. This isn't like, this is what I believe, but the middle ground is he's going the exact opposite of what.
Yeah, no, he's almost sounds like a Republican and a Democrat simultaneously. He's like, well, we need to stay in the war, but how we're going to do it? Like, literally, Trump is the one that's going to be, like, joining hands with Putin, and Hillary wants to stay involved in the conflict. So you're getting the worst of both worlds. Trump wants out of the conflict, but to join up with Putin, and Hillary just wants to continue fucking Syria. So you're saying, yeah, I'm going to take the word because he's a little bit of both parties. And this is where it like shines through. He's the worst of both parties in several ways.
This is where you see literally, you know, what we've been seeing this whole time. He's just reaching for the outliers on both sides. That's what I see with this.
So you're saying anti-war but still involved. I like both of those. Yeah, I guess I don't think that like maybe that he solved it with that answer, then maybe he got those people back. I don't think he put even a strong enough case into it. He just put a topical enough for you to get pissed about it. Personally, like as if I was a libtard or a Republican, not like I would hate that answer. I don't know, like what do you call Republicans? That's kind of sounds like Nazi maybe, because libtard's good, but I want to make Republicans the Nazis.
Come back to me on that.
Okay, but yeah, no, like I don't even remember what I was saying.
I'll give that serious thought. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, yeah, but okay, we'll just go on.
Army is also coupled with the Islamists, and then the fact that we're also supporting the Kurds, and this is it's just a mess, and that this is the result of regime change that we end up supporting, and inevitably these regime changes have led to a less safe world.
So an alliance with Russia is the solution to Syria. Do you think Vladimir Putin and Russia are a good and reliable partner?
Well, I think diplomatically that has to be the solution, is joining hands with Russia to bring this civil war to an end.
You know, they're still locking up homosexuals over there, but they're going to join. Okay, you know, they align a little bit more with the people they're supporting, which is certainly not the Kurds in most circumstances. My understanding is correct. So, like, even his foreign policy is, like, pro the bad guys, in my humble opinion. Like, if you're going to go that route, because I can almost get behind, yeah, we need to help the Kurds, like, who are doing all right on their own in a lot of ways anyway. There's some fierce motherfucking fighters, but... So, like, after this shit, he gets kind of a second chance. And I can't remember exactly who it is that, like, does a follow-up interview, but it'll be in the video, so we can just give a shout-out then. But, like, he gets the chance to, like, recoup and, like, think about what he just fucked up. And, like, because everybody knows it was a gaffe. So, like, you know, when you come out of this shit, your next interview, they're going to mention it. You're like, so you just really fucked up.
Damage control.
Yeah, like either be funny about it or own it or be.
People are making a big deal about this Aleppo thing. I'm just curious what your view.
There's no Trump in him. Sometimes I talk directly to him, and sometimes I talk about him.
Hopefully he's listening.
One of these days he will. So we will just, yeah, I'll just play. It was Bloomberg Politics, I guess. Got an almost immediate follow-up interview with him. So just we'll play that.
People are making a big deal about this Aleppo thing. I'm just curious what your view is from just like, is it a gotcha thing? Should you have known it? In retrospect, do you know it?
This is how you ask a person a question. Do you get, like, this interviewer, like, granted, he's going to get the first, like, follow-up retort, so he doesn't really need to gotcha him. But he at least, like, says, like, hey, man, some shit just went down. Let's be real. What are your thoughts about it? And then he doesn't stop the question there. He gives him, like, potential directions to take his answer, and they're not predatory. Like, was it? He even, like, says, hey, man, could have this been, like, a setup? Was that what it was? Like, he gives him the chance to deflect it. So it's not that is how you ask a fucking question. Yeah. It's not, tell me about Aleppo.
Right.
And again, he should read the newspaper and know. Don't get me wrong. But it was definitely a setup question. I just hate Gary Johnson.
Well, when you recognize what's going on in Syria, when you recognize that that Aleppo is in the kind of the epicenter, Aleppo, not knowing that there's a city in between the two forces, really at the epicenter of but not remembering or identifying that that's Aleppo, guilty.
But in retrospect, is it a town it's a name you know, a town you know?
This interviewer is the nicest guy ever. Like, you were like, again, Gary Johnson. Okay, so you get set up with a decent question. I get you didn't get fed a decent question there, but you got the chance to pull it out and you failed me. Please get fed a decent question now and give a decent answer. He's given the most decent question he could have been given about the fuck up he just made that he knew he was going to get asked about almost immediately. You have to know after that fuck up. Shit, give big excuses. Did I have a mini stroke? Like, what the fuck is my problem? Oh, ate the wrong brownies. Like, give them some excuse for it, or at least take the opportunity to restate what you should have said.
That's why when you are pretty sure you don't know what someone is asking you, you don't repeat the word. Note to any potential liars out there or people who are going to need to go by the seat of their pants someday. When he said Aleppo and repeated the interviewer and still didn't know what it was, like, that kind of debunks immediately any chance for him to say, like, yeah, I knew what that was. Also, it takes away his chance here in the post interview to say something like, oh, I thought he said a leper, and we haven't dealt with leprosy in a long time, so I thought he was trying to throw a joke at me.
I got you.
And then that gives you that chance. Now, granted, that's probably terrible life advice for me to give, but he's a politician here. He's supposed to be good at this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's his fucking job. And you would think there's even a prep team that's like in the background before he gets from that stage to outside to
anywhere.
Like, yo, bro, we need to talk. Listen. Bill was watching. He's a little disappointed in you, man. Listen. He's a little disappointed in your performance. You're going to get asked about it, though. So if you don't even, we're not going to let you answer this time. Actually, this is what you're going to say. Sign here. Thank you. Walk out the door.
Champ.
And when he gets asked that question, he should hold up the fucking piece of paper and read that back at least. There should have been some fucking handler there.
In regards to the interviewer, I do want to get this out and say that, yeah, he's doing the nice guy, but in this situation, even if his goal was to make Gary look bad here, he just is catching more flies with honey, because how do you, as an interviewer, after giving the honest question and seeing that response, how do you not just kind of toss him another softball and see if he doesn't just fuck it up again? So I'm just throwing that part out there as well, that this overall, essentially, this guy is just a pro. He even if he is setting Gary up here, he realizes he doesn't need to. He realizes after what he just saw, I'm just going to ask you about that again, give you another chance, and if not, then this shit's about to go viral.
Here's my issue with Gary. You don't even need to give him that setup for him to fuck up, as we just witnessed. But in the first video, we saw it. Like, he finally gets on track, and then instantly they already had something to take him down with because his reaction is join hands with Russia. So, like, if they would have given him a decent question about Syria, at the end of the day, he still would have flubbed out on it. Because instantly they were ready to pounce on it. So, like, I get what you're saying. I don't think this guy is necessarily, like, the knight in shining armor reporter. I don't think he had to gotcha, but if he would have been gotcha'd twice, it would have been kind of funny. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's what, yeah, that's really all I was saying is, like, that this is just, he's a time bomb right now in this scenario that this guy got a better clip so far. Like, this is the one that's going to make first 40 seconds, that's going to be what makes Gary look bad.
It's going to be Hillary Clinton and him with, like, they're wondering if they're having strokes or seizures or what the fuck's going on.
That's the next try the cold chai.
Yeah. He's going to be the poster boy of why you shouldn't smoke weed. They're going to be like, actually, it was from smoking all the weed. Like, that's instantly what they're going to pull up. I bet there's a Trump ad if he's ever actually a threat that's like, is Gary too much of a pothead? And it just, like, shows some study done by some Trump research fund that says, like, marijuana related to seizures or going dumb. And it's just mic drop, leave. But yeah, no, Mike, you just dropped the microphone. That's the only reason I said that, for the viewer that's wondering why. But yeah, no, there's no way, like, he's getting away with this. And I haven't seen it played too much yet, but it'll be in something somewhere if he's ever a threat.
Which he won't be.
Yeah, I was actually going to skip to the end of this, but we'll just, like, show him because, like, you hear the reporter give him, like, another bone. He's not even like, do you realize how dumb you are, bro?
I think this is worth the extra minute, 20 seconds.
Sir, did you just have a seizure or a stroke or an orgasm? No, he literally feeds.
It's a name you know, a town you know. I mean, this is gonna be a big deal. Like, this is like the first big flap of a campaign that's been doing pretty well, right? It's going to be a big flap. I promise you.
Oh,
it
no,
already
no,
is.
no,
So
I'm
just wondering sort of how you.
No, I'm
Yeah, but how do you-
incredibly frustrated with myself.
Right.
Right.
So how do you feel about it? Like, should it be a big flap? Like,
Well, sure it should. Absolutely. I use this as an example. In New Mexico, there's an area called Colonias, which is really destitute, if you will. I mean, it's between the borders. Well, I'm asked running for governor, what do you think about the Colonias? And I say, what do you mean Colonias? You don't know what Colonias? Well, no, what's Colonias? Well, and then they described what I very well recognized was this area, and I didn't realize it was called Colonias.
Right.
Is this going to disqualify me from being governor of New Mexico? I hope not. I hope that not recognizing Aleppo, but I understand the significance. Believe me, no one is taking this more seriously than me. I feel horrible.
what do you think will happen now?
Well, that I have to get smarter, and that's just part of the process.
Have you heard from Bill Weld yet?
Have I?
Yeah. Have you? Have you heard from your running mate?
Regarding
This?
come on,
Well, I know, but he's a good, fast emailer. He knows Aleppo.
We got it. Thanks.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Governor. Good luck. Thank you.
His handler literally let him go through all of that. You hear her take him away.
Well, and also this guy was the similar wolf with a different tactic. I mean, he was kind of leading, but then, I feel like he also he didn't do anything to make Gary comfortable enough to really let him answer. He also continued to talk over him as he was just elaborating on the same question over and over again. Like right after Gary tells him, "Oh, I'm very frustrated." Well, how do you feel about it? Is it a flap? Do you feel it's like, all right, dude? Like, so I just want to say that this journalism today bothers me, but at the same time, it's his job to be on his toes here. That's the big message.
You can look at it that way, and I kind of look at it that way, as in that he starts getting a little bit too aggressive and like trying to get him to say some more stupid shit, which I think's funny. But there's a good way to handle that. I think somebody like Austin Peterson could handle that. I don't think Gary Johnson has the mentality to handle that. Donald Trump could have handled that. I honestly believe Hillary Clinton could have handled that. And I don't think he's on that caliber. And I keep citing Austin Peterson, who's really young, but we've both seen Austin Peterson handle and take ownership over people senior to him by a long shot. So like I think it's more mentality. I don't think he has it, and I think he gets owned a lot.
Well, he's not quick on his feet. He's nervous.
You're running for president. At the end of the day, as much as I'm against the federal government, you need to have like a strong ownership of control. You need to like exude that. You're running the fucking country, and I'd rather you like run it to where it's a bunch of smaller countries until I'm my own country, and then I can run it myself. But until then, like, you can't get caught up in shit like this. You're going to get caught up in every single thing you try to propose, every step of the way. And then you're going to make us all, because you're running as a libertarian with a big L, look like fucking retards. So if you somehow make it to president, we're all going to look like Duck Dynasty characters. All of us. Every single nobody is going to be wanting to relate to us, talk to us, call themselves one of us. This is going to keep happening. Like as a governor, you can get away with shit like this. Now that you want to get a high enough percentage to get on the debate stages. And that's why I keep saying this is not a good guy for the libertarian message.
Not
you, but
right, and I personally, and it's sad, this is the ass in me coming out. I want to see him on that debate stage because, unfortunately, well, I mean, it's unfortunate for you guys because yes, that this is who is equated to your party, but also, I just want to see him kind of shown for the fraud that I see him as.
I don't need that to happen. I don't, because even though I'm a little L, at the end of the day, the movement happens with the big L.
Well, I understand that.
And yeah, I don't need that to happen. I understand the wanting to see the calamity, and that's why I kind of like this election cycle. But that's why I would rather him just like be out of it. I would rather him be held back and then like get the chance to get somebody else behind the reins of the presidential nomination. somebody with maybe some balls and somebody who knows what they're talking about a little bit, and that doesn't get owned every fucking step of the way by the media. Like, if you can't handle the media, how are you going to handle Russia? How are you going to negotiate this deal that you want to negotiate with Russia?
Right.
Are you going to set the terms of it? Because I don't want you meddling in foreign affairs, but I certainly don't want you doing it and losing at it, especially to somebody like Putin. I don't think Putin's a good guy. I really don't. But so the other thing I want to talk about is the DEA banning Kratom or Kratom. It's one of those. How would you say it? I've been saying it Kratom, to be honest. But I could see it Kratom.
I've been calling it Kratom, but I'm one of the people that says data or data. It kind of depends on what I hear around me. I kind of just say whatever the other person's pronouncing. So I could probably, I don't know. I don't know what this one is. It sounds like a made up word to me.
Have you ever caught yourself saying LOL?
No.
Yeah, you feel like the biggest faggot ever when you say it. I promise you.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah, that was a sad day for me. I can tell you the worst thing. I know this is not anything about this, but have you ever been like writing and went to backspace?
Yeah.
Like writing with a pen and then like been like, oh fuck.
Oh.
Like
no,
not actually,
no.
but like had the thought to like. I can remember when I was in like 5th grade, like writing notes in class real fast and like having the thought to like backspace, and I'm like shit, like I couldn't remember what I was looking for, and it's like I'm looking for a backspace button. What the fuck is wrong with me?
You're ahead of your time.
So that's your host. So back to Kratom. So the DEA, this is basically an innocuous drug. Have you heard of it until now?
Slightly.
I hadn't heard of it literally until they banned it.
Oh, well, I think I heard about it maybe a day or two before it was banned. So, yeah.
When it got banned, I was like reading stuff, and then today I was reading more stuff, and there was people talking about it in like 2013. I guess it had kind of a big boom when people started talking about it or something, because it had a lot of people ordering it and using it, which is a beautiful reason to me to look at the needlessness of the FDA, because this shit was being ordered from overseas, and I guess a few of like the related illnesses, like some CDC calls, may have been from tainted batches. But the only death that's like been backed up and substantiated so far was somebody claimed that their teenage son took it and then committed suicide. But I can tell you, like, people that try drugs a lot of times are already suicidal before they're trying drugs. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I can see like either way. I'm not here to say for sure that he didn't have a reaction to it that made him go there, because we know that drugs on the market with black labels can do that. I don't know if you've heard of like Paxil or Zoloft or any of those that all of your friends are fucking on, and how many people have committed suicide within weeks of starting a regimen of those. So, and how many of those are because like, oh, this person already tried to commit suicide and gets put on it. I don't know, but it doesn't like add up to that at all to me. It doesn't. And this is somebody who's been close to people that have committed suicide.
And well, what I would say about that is just that it's a case of they're getting it both ways in this instance. Like it can be used against Kratom here as a reason to ban it and make it illegal, but when it happens to a prescription drug, then like, oh, that's just an unfortunate side effect, and we'll try to correct it. But so you see what I'm saying? Like it's just the sort of typical hypocrisy that I'm kind of getting used to seeing in legislature. So
how many people had to die before they drew in the reins on the like pill highway? It was like a year. I remember it getting hot in my small town, and then literally in 6 months of it getting hot in my small town, documentaries were out, and in another 6 months, that shit was shut the fuck down, and the prices went up. And I wasn't on pills, but in my high school, a lot of people did pills. And, like, just growing up, like, you were around it. And then heroin came in soon after, and everybody's blaming it on people from out of town coming in. But no, it's because you literally cut off the market, and then the price just kept getting higher because now they can't get their shit from it's gotten harder and harder to get them in, I guess. But you see that happen to so many small towns.
right.
But this is the ineffectiveness of the DEA, because people were using this drug to wean themselves off of the harder drugs, because apparently it still reacts with Oh, I wish I would have like kept some notes about it, but it apparently reacts with an opioid receptor in your brain, but not in the same way that an opiate does. So it doesn't trigger the addictive response, apparently. So you still get the happy feeling from it, I guess, but you don't get I don't think you get like a euphoric feeling. You just get kind of a buzz, I guess. But it's also non-addictive, and it doesn't have like some of the other negative side effects that come with opiate use. So people were successfully using it to instead of using it. So even if you say that they were just substituting one addiction with another, this one's already clearly healthier because, again, you hear about the drugs that kill people. Like,
Right.
And it's either heroin or it's the legal ones. It's alcohol. I guess there was like 660 reports of kratom-related illness between 2000 and 2015. Like, how many people called into the CDC because too drunk? Like,
Yeah.
You should just look that up. But it has to be a lot more than that. And again, this was just as legal as alcohol. It was more legal than alcohol. You only had to be 18 to buy it. So are you telling me it's that bad and it's that addictive? Look at the way fucking crack took hold of neighborhoods and was killing people. Like, if this shit was that drug, it would be doing that. It's obviously and clearly not.
Right, yeah, we would have known about it
Yeah,
before
so why
the
the
ban
fuck
if
are they
it was
meddling
that
with
bad.
it? And this is what happens when the FDA has the authority they do, or the DEA has the authority they do. It will be at least 2 years until we know what they're going to do with it. They can set it as a Schedule 1 narcotic for no reason at all, just to vet it out, essentially. So the consumer's already said, yeah, this shit's good shit. I like this shit. It's working for me. It's homeopathic. Not any of my friends are getting sick off of it. If I took enough to kill me, I would throw it all up because it doesn't let you do that. If you take enough of this shit to kill you, you throw up. Yeah, and they had to fucking add that shit to Tylenol. You know what I mean? Like, this shit's naturally, like, you can't do it. And it was helping people with the pain relief and getting off of opiates. So yeah, like, and that's again when the DA they get the chance without any. We didn't vote on it. There's no democracy there. Without any authority, where were the public health care calls for this shit? Local governments had looked at it and legalized it. Some of them had. Some local governments made it to where you had to be 18 to buy it, but because they heard so many people talk about it in their communities that were using it successfully, they decided to keep it still. Like, everywhere it was like even moved to be outlawed, the people said no. So here comes the federal government stepping on all these local governments' heels, saying, never mind, off the shelves. And off the shelves overnight, too. So if this shit was actually addictive, these people are going to be dead within a few weeks. Like, you're going to see, if this shit was actually addictive, you're going to see a spike in overdoses.
Mm-hmm.
Or if this wasn't addictive, but it was the only thing people could do to supplement their addiction, you're going to see a shit ton of deaths in a few
Yeah,
weeks.
you can see a lot of...
And whose hands are those on? Who do you go to? Who gets prosecuted for that? The people that are literally with guns keeping you from getting this shit for no reason? Like, and we get the fucking... That's what the war on drugs was for, though. It was, I think, so they could ban basically any plant that they wanted to, any medicine, essentially. Because there's been you have not shown me evidence. The DEA cited that there was 15 reported deaths in the U.S. from it, but they didn't provide any information on them. So again, how many people are using this for the depression, or because, I mean, we all know people with addictive tendencies generally also have mental health issues. So how many of these people, I would almost say all 15 of them were suicides, if it's only 15. I would almost say that.
It would be pretty close. Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, the illnesses, I guess, have been from, there was a couple, like, blog postings that I heard about where, like, the Kratom community was talking about a couple bad batches that came out of somewhere. But this was, like, off-label kind of shit. Like, I don't know, buy from a company you trust. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And that's the free market, though. If only, literally, if 100 people died from this out of 200,000 people taking it, would you still say it should be legal? Like, I would.
Yeah.
And that's pretty high percentage, really.
I just think, isn't part of, once you make it Schedule 1, isn't that sort of limit the kind of testing that can be done on it? That's sort of where I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, right now, I think it's limiting everybody else's ability to test it while the DEA vets it. But it's really hard to vet something with very little research done on it. So they're going to be vetting it off of, like, to see if it has any, like, ability for medical use or
which,
this or
yeah,
that.
which makes it to where no one, it eliminates competition
essentially
is really what's happening.
And that's what the government, and that's why like anarchists, I guess, a little bit or maybe a lot, eliminate the government and you eliminate this kind of control. Like everybody wants to blame big pharma for this shit, but this was not Bayer going and banning this. This wasn't whoever the fuck makes OxyContin going and banning this. This is literally your government at work for, and maybe we don't even know for sure that they're at work for the big pharma for this. This literally might just be them not wanting people having access to this so they can make fines. We really don't know. This could totally not have anything to do. Do I think it's probably got a lot to do with big pharma? Yeah. But it could totally not and still be in the government's interest to ban it. Especially while people aren't like too knowledgeable about it. Because the biggest problem that happened to them about weed was everybody was still doing it. And I don't think the shit that this grows over here. And I don't think it's easy to grow as weed. So I think they had to import it. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for them to cut off if they want to. And they're seeing this movement start of like weed getting legalized. Maybe this media that they're getting for it, they wanted. Maybe they want to get people interested in it so they can have a new weed to chase. Because heroin's already scarier to everybody. And if you start throwing out opiate addiction in the news, I mean, they sold us with fucking, what was the anti-weed movie?
Oh, man. I cannot think of it now.
Jesus fuck. Brain fart. I wish we had live viewers that could text me right now and tell me what the fucking, I keep thinking I'm going to think of it as I try and say it.
Yeah, it's slipping. I'll think of it
really
20 minutes after we've done recording.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. God, trying to think of that got me off
that
subject.
50s movie.
Yeah, but essentially the black and white fear film about what happens if you smoke weed and how you become a rapist or you might get raped.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a negative. Obviously, in a libertarian society, this wouldn't happen. I don't know what to say about it. I don't even know anybody that's for this. That's the other thing, and that's what happens when you have a central authority that gets to just run shit. You lose your say. It goes to a committee now that's appointed. It's absolutely asinine. I really want to know the name of that movie. I'm Googling it right now because it's bugging me.
Reefer Madness.
Reefer Madness. Thank you so much. Yes. Score 1 for this episode. We remembered Reefer Madness. But yeah, that's basically, I guess, my thoughts on this banning on it. Obviously, I was against the banning on it. I'm pro legalization of all drugs, even the bad ones. Sorry, Mom.
Right.
Not listening to this, but
I'm kind of up in the air on it. I agree in this scenario. I don't really have an opinion on like the legalization of it's weird. I have an opinion, but like the so many of the drugs that are illegal, not really messing with. So you know what I mean? It makes it difficult. Yeah, exactly. So I see what you're saying. It's like the people should be free to do that.
My favorite thing to ask somebody who is when I say that I'm pro legalization of every drugs, including crack, including heroin, including crocodile, including all of them. I don't give a fuck. If you want to inject grass juice, I don't give a fuck. Like, it is not my right to, like, tell you no. If you want to snort bath salts, I'll give you a fucking mirror. I don't care. I'm not doing them, though. And my favorite thing to ask somebody who is, like, anti-legalization is, so if heroin was legalized tomorrow, or I say crack normally because it's a little scarier than heroin even because I don't think they ever prescribed crack, did they? Not that I know of, at least.
Well, not directly.
I have had a doctor tell me. No. But yeah, I love to ask them. So tell me this. If it's such a bad drug that, like, it'll hook people, that it needs to be criminalized, but it's so attractive that people would do it if it's not criminalized. So say it was legalized tomorrow. Would you smoke crack? Would you try it?
No.
And nobody says yes to that. I've literally had nobody. If you won't do it, what makes you better than me? And what right is it of yours as somebody that says yes to say no? And then but give me one reason why it's your right to say, hey, you can't put that in your body. Do you own that person's body? Does it put you in direct harm for them to do it? The only time we see people put in direct harm is in this criminalized market. All the drug wars, prohibition, they were only violent when it's illegal. It wasn't like there was a huge cocaine trade tearing apart Colombia pre-criminalization in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's if it's done freely and openly, you eliminate those kind of things. And then we look at the ODs, and it's never pure. Generally, it's because it's cut with shit from Big Pharma. What is this shit they're cutting? I can't think of the name of it, but you've probably seen it in the news where people are dying because it's got fentanyl. Is that what it is? God, I need to Google this. I'm sorry, guys. I don't prepare anymore for anything in my life. So I didn't know we were going to go here, but I think it's fentanyl. And it's like super concentrated, like feel good, but feel good till you die. And they're cutting meth or crack or whatever people in fucking Redneckville, Ohio are doing with it. And if they put too much in it, you die. Which is what's happening. Like that is generally the largest deaths are with that stuff. But if it was in a free market, so let's say it was in the same market as Kratom, so people get a bad batch, they get online and they post online, hey, this company sold me a bad batch, don't buy for them. It wasn't like we saw if it was a big enough market for them to ban it. Let's say they had 200,000 like yearly or daily users of this shit in America. Let's just guess, because I'm not looking this shit up right now. There's probably no numbers on it. But if it's big enough to be in several big news organizations and that other company or cities have tried to like see what they should do about it and decide to legalize it because enough people were like, this stuff's good. Where was I going with that? I'm sorry. We got the roommates just showed up at home. It got a little noisy in here, got distracted. But yeah. So imagine, so if we treated it like Kratom. So if that happened with Kratom, let's say 200,000 people are using it. If we only saw that many deaths from it, it's a pretty pure product from all of these companies that weren't getting controlled, and it's not a banned substance. And when you ban the shit, though, like, they start cutting it. And I'm not saying they're going to start cutting Kratom. I'm thinking that people are just going to move to the shit that's cut. But I think if these drugs were a lot purer is basically what I'm getting to, because they were traded freely and you could talk about them freely and they could exist in a free market, I don't think you would see all these ODs. I think people would, A, be a lot more knowledgeable about what the fuck they were doing, and B, have access to pure drugs.
Okay.
Or drugs cut with other fun shit. I don't give a fuck, but they would know what the fuck they're getting. And right now, that's it. You don't know what you're getting with them. And I have never done cocaine. I've never done crack. I've never done heroin. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't do these drugs. I have access to them whenever I want them. And I still, like, I'm just like, no, that doesn't seem like something for me. Or I could go to the corner store and buy some fucking Whippets and just start huffing cans of air. You know what I mean? And definitely kill myself if I take too many of those at once. It's retarded. And I'm sorry to my liberal audience that doesn't exist for using the R word. I know it's a terrible word. But yeah, that's kind of, what are your thoughts? I just kind of like, I don't know, I went off some tangent there about Kratom, but what are your thoughts on the entire thing? Like, drug legalization in general, what you're kind of hesitant on, like, legalizing everything. I can feel it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you say things like crocodile that kill people within a month, you know, I'm just kind of like, well, yeah, it should technically be your right, but there are certain, you know, and it's why I'm on the fence is because I don't know who gets to decide. But I mean, there are people out there that, you know, I guess if you want to just give them the right to go ahead and kill themselves, then, you know, I guess they should have that right too. But what I'm suggesting is, like, there are some people that simply can't say no to things, and if you leave something like crocodile out there for them to try and they eventually get there, and then you know they're going to die within a month no matter what, like that is
things like crocodile exist because of the black market, though.
Fair enough.
Like, people are obviously not going to turn to it first, and I don't think it's going to be the 40 of shooting up. I don't think it's going to be like the broke man's go-to. I think it's going to be cheap enough. Look how cheap it is now. At the end of the day, it's pretty cheap. And it's completely illegal. Imagine if it was legal, so they could get pure shit before it's been cut 16 times. Oh, and there's guns involved, so it costs a lot more to move shit.
Right.
Like,
right.
Imagine that society. You wouldn't have things like crocodile. And if somebody wants to mix their shit with gasoline and put it, it's not going to catch on. Unless you believe society is that stupid. But frankly, I don't. Society generally picks the safe drugs. We always have. And that's what you see the epidemic happen, and then you see the die-off happen, regardless of government interference. Yeah. Any of these things. You see them catch on in areas and then die out. And it's not like they arrest everybody and solve the issue. People stop doing it. They see the negative effects of it and they stop. And I don't know. I'm a little Darwinist there at the end of the day. And it is, but again, as a Darwinist, I'm also I believe that the economy is going to do a lot. on his own, just because we seek out like the safest bet. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so I don't think people are going to try that shit if they have. Everybody's already doing cocaine. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there. I don't know, kind of all over the place. Heroin. That's what they're. Apparently, you can tell by the smell. So there is people talking about how to find fentanyl in it. That's good. Clear back in 2006, clear up through 2016. God bless America. Speaking of God bless America, actually, we should talk a little bit about Kaepernick.
Yeah, that guy. I wish I knew the stats on his jersey sales. I bet they've gone
They
up.
were number 1.
Yeah, I figured as much.
I saw it reported number 4 a lot. I saw number 1 once. So
yeah, so I am sort of the opinion at this point now that it's several people are doing it. He's got the number 1 selling jersey in the league as I believe still a backup quarterback. I don't even think he'll be starting on Sunday. He lost his job to a guy who is decent at best.
tell me why they kept him then.
He's under contract, and no one. A couple of teams are interested in trading for him, but instead they took draft picks. And in the NFL, the quarterback talent pool is so light that you're lucky if you have a backup quarterback that you think can be serviceable. So he's worth more to them on the roster than they are pulling some guy off the street. Because at this point, most teams carry 3 quarterbacks. So if you think about it that way, the top 90 football throwers in the world are already taken. So once you're getting through the triple digits, these guys aren't very good anymore. So it's one of the they're kind of their hands are tied. To make a short story long, it's a necessity sort of thing. They couldn't get rid of him, so they might as well keep him. And the job is potentially up in the air. But I just see this almost. I hate to say it, I see it sort of as a publicity stunt on his part at this point. He's benefited greatly from this. Even though it's polarizing. I mean, ask Donald Trump if there's any such thing as bad pub.
That's true, but there is bad pub still. The media has to like you.
Not everybody likes him here. I mean,
like to play you, I should say.
But yeah, but I'm saying not everybody is behind him, but his jersey sales went up. You know why? Because there are San Francisco fans right now going out and buying Kaepernick jerseys and burning them. That's the other, it's both sides. He is getting paid from this on both ends.
Do you think the majority of the sales are people burning a jersey?
Not the majority, but that doesn't mean that they're not
or
there.
Even
All I'm suggesting
more than
is
a negligible amount. That's an expensive purchase just to burn. And you're not going to get that many views on YouTube.
I mean...
Are you going to invite your friends? Are we really that patriotic that you can invite your friends over to a Kaepernick jersey burning? Unless you're part of the VFW, I guess there's a lot of those posts. But even there's a lot of veterans coming out for this motherfucker. And I see it in the forums, too. I see a lot of veterans. I get that it could be fucking trolls that aren't really veterans, but I try to look at these people, and if they're pictures in egg or they don't have any pictures of themselves or anything like that, I generally just assume they're a troll.
Right.
But, if they put in their job that's what they did, and then they have friends commenting things other than why does it say you're in the military, I generally believe you're probably actually in the military. And there's a lot of people yo, man, no, he's allowed to sit for it. And actually, I went over there for this shit that I didn't know I was going over there for, but I was young and dumb.
Well, and that's
good for this guy.
Yeah.
But this guy, what my problem with Kaepernick is, and I like the sentiment, and I like that he's willing to put himself out there. And maybe it was to keep his spot. Maybe he wanted some limelight. And maybe he actually feels this strongly about it, but it's about race in every comment I've heard him say so far. I haven't heard that many comments. Maybe he's changing. Maybe that's not really his sentiment. But if you keep it at race, this following you have is going to have to walk away from you soon, because Black Lives Matter is going to come into this real soon. And that is going to completely change the dynamic of how this works. You're going to see, these people that are getting close to him, warming up to him, they're just not going to be able to do it. Because Black Lives Matter, we've seen them attack Bernie Sanders. Who was more pro that movement, standing a chance than Bernie Sanders? Do you think Hillary Clinton's going to take shit from him? She might suck up to him. But do you really think if she would have gotten the microphone taken out of her hand by Black Lives Matter, they would have been shot on the spot? She would have yelled gun.
No,
she would have been the one yelling
spot.
gun help.
They would have died in a freak workout accident 2 weeks later.
She would have thrown the guns down and then shot the cameraman. She would have planted the evidence in front of the crowd and been if any of you speak, you saw what happened here. That's that bitch. There would have only been 30 people.
She would have tied them up and left them on some railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Just like back in
she don't play around.
Arkansas.
Yeah. So how do we get from Kaepernick to her tying Black Lives Matter up on
Because
the train
you
tracks.
had to because you were suggesting that Kaepernick get off the
Oh, yeah.
race tracks.
Yeah, I hope he does. And I mean, do him, whatever he wants to do with it. But I would like to see it go that way because that's what that movement's needed. And if a lot of them could stop off that train and jump onto his, whatever the fuck he calls it, that would be cool with me if he didn't make it just about race.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see it going that way. I think it's going to stay this course, and all you have to do is go back a week to our last episode. I actually kind of was on his side. I was hoping that the vets would take this stand because that's what I believed is that even though I haven't personally gone out there and fight, I believe that the soldiers, they go out there to fight for my right to have an opinion. If you
I think
want
they
me
believe that, yeah. I don't think they've heard enough of the counterpoint.
And so with that, I like that part. I like the idea that, the soldiers are saying, hey, don't put this on us. Well, no, we fight for your right to not stand if you don't want to. We don't take it. Because I hate when the people are like, you're disgracing the soldiers. Like, no, I'm not. They fought to give me this right. And if they don't like that, then, we can sit down and talk about it and I can discuss my opinion. But where it's turned for me on here is I feel like, the same message for your end is going to stick to a race thing. So it's going to stay. It's not going to address the issue as a whole. And also, I do just kind of see it as an opportunity here from now. It's not his fault that his jersey sales are going up, essentially. He can't help it if this initial move made him popular. But the pig socks, we were cool. I know you love them, and
I fucking love them.
And on one hand, I can say yeah, absolutely, he's standing up for what he believes in, and this and that. But it's also now I'm seeing that he's profiting from it as well. And and what better way to stay relevant in a year when you might not play football? How is it to make sure you get a contract next year? There are going to be teams in the NFL next year that are bad enough that they're going to need a ticket draw. So I don't think he can extend it for a year. I don't think it's possible, but that doesn't mean it's not in his mind. We don't know this man either.
I know that, but everybody jumps to profiting and sees that as well, this is probably why he's actually doing it. And if that is the case, that's a little fucked up to take a hold of a movement and steer it just for, I'll give you that, to just try and grab a hold of something and get some profit out of it. But anytime you become a voice for anything that puts you in the spotlight, that gives anything you're already involved in a boost. You can't help that. Why is that a negative either? Because you don't want people taking money out of his pocket for it. That's also, you don't want, if you saw for making this stand, if you saw his jersey sales fall, you don't want to see that happen to him because you support him. Well, so is he supposed to walk away from his jersey sales anytime he makes a political statement? Or is that the way you support somebody that you want to keep putting the message out? Be yeah, man, we like you. We want you to keep saying this stuff. This is how we support you. This is how you get to keep feeding your family and living luxuriously enough to be in the spotlight to begin with. And hey, if they walk away from you, well, you're welcome.
Yeah, and I hope that is exactly. I hope that everything you just said is exactly how it's going. But I just, because again, this is a person that I don't know, I won't rule out the fact. And because this profit is being made, I think it's worth mentioning. Yeah. I feel like it's worth when you add up, it depends on your opinion really on circumstance and coincidence, where it's I'm not suggesting that this is all a big PR stunt for him. I'm just throwing out that I feel like it would be an oversight to not at least mention the possibility because of these factors that are there. Yeah. Just because you put these things together and you're well, I could see how this could be beneficial for someone, so it's just in my mind. I hope that's not the case, but this is 2016. Look at Ryan Lochte.
Yeah.
That's, you don't have to go very far to see an instance of an athlete doing something like this.
Yeah. And the funny thing with him is it wasn't like he was going to get endorsements for that, Lochte. And but that's the other thing, does he make that much money on jersey sales, really? How much? Because the way I understand the NFL, and you know a lot more about it than me, is that money literally gets divided almost evenly amongst every other organization.
Well, here's the difference, though, between it may not equate to his contract, but what I will mention is, if NFL money isn't guaranteed all the time, you have, only portions of it are guaranteed. So, for instance, if you get signed in the preseason and they have a chance to, if they cut you before week 1, then they don't have to pay you what they agreed to pay you. even though they signed a contract with you, that kind of stuff. So I think it's worth mentioning that while it may not be the same, it's guaranteed money. So it may the jersey sales, he's going to get that money. His name's on that. You know, he might not get all of it.
You
might be right. It might be a portion, but what I'm saying is if he never plays in the NFL again after this year, which is a good possibility, these jersey sales are going to be something that he can live off of for maybe not for very long, but it's going to be better than what he would be just out on his ass next year.
What if he would have left the NFL he wasn't even really disgraced. He just wasn't that great of a player, right?
Yeah,
he was
he's not disgraced.
Yeah. So what if he would have just left the NFL like that? He couldn't have gotten sponsorship deals?
Probably not. I mean, there's a great ESPN documentary about the fact the majority of, first of all, the average NFL career is only 3.5 years. So it's a kind of a myth that all of these guys are millionaires. Most of them end up bankrupt within 5 years of retirement because they live large. They have, and there's no backup plan. And a lot of times there's no education. And that's maybe, Kaepernick, I believe, was a junior or a senior when he was drafted, so he had some education. I'm not suggesting he would be one of these guys out on the streets 2 years afterwards. Again, I'm just pointing out the possibility of if you're a person thinking that way and you're seeing, well, like, hey, this guy Blaine Gabbert, who's starting over him, would be a backup on a lot of NFL teams, and I just lost my job to him. What is the possibility? Look at, you wouldn't know this, but maybe not, Tim Tebow, former NFL quarterback, former Heisman Trophy winner, 2-time national champion,
He's the one that prayed all the time, right?
He's the one that prayed all the time, exactly. That's what he's known for. Well, he just tried out and signed a minor league baseball contract 11 years after playing any competitive baseball.
Didn't Michael Jordan do that?
And it didn't work out well for him either. Michael had different
But then he went
reasons.
back and beasted basketball, didn't he?
Yeah. But then that's not it. But see, so here's the instance. Like Tim Tebow, he went to the playoffs in the NFL. This was a guy who had all the accolades for a football player, and he can't cut it to the point where he's trying to play baseball to make his money. So what I'm saying is, like, when Kaepernick gets out, there's no guarantee that he gets a job at ESPN as an analyst. There's no guarantee he gets a job as a coach, and he may or may not have anything lined up. So
I feel you.
As someone who has been an opportunist in his life, I like to point out the chances when someone could just be being an opportunist.
And with your theory, like, I know I'm being like critical of it, but outside of like jersey sales, like being this polarized and does give him the chance to make speaking fees and stuff like that, there is other revenue streams he could be getting. I do want to acknowledge that. I do see that. It's the amount of risk for that is just fucking huge to me. And I don't know, but I'm not in his head either. So I guess there's Hitler. So there's a lot of different mindsets that make up the world. So I definitely shouldn't discredit, I guess you're looking at that. So as much as I do, I probably shouldn't. But
because it could also, you mentioned endorsements. So as a backup quarterback with no flavor, none whatsoever.
He looked a little spicy.
I mean, he was a little spicy, but I'm talking not. He's always had an attitude about him. He's had a certain level of confidence, but he wasn't a big name anymore. He had a big breakout early in his career, and things went off track. So. But if you're the guy with this nice, perfectly formed afro that he's been working on all summer, and all of a sudden you have something to talk about, and you're kind of your own little.
Do you think he was just picking that, being like, just wait for your move, just wait, wait.
I was thinking about like
3/4 of an inch more, just a little more, and we'll make a move.
Yeah, exactly. People are into this retro stuff. I'm gonna go Black Panther on him.
Okay.
So
I got you. My God! If he brings an SKS to an NFL game, I will worship him. I will buy a jersey. We will hang it on the wall right next to the titties. And John Lennon.
Yeah, right next to John Lennon. That's where it belongs.
We were way off politics, but the chick I went to see the other night, she had one of those posters, but it was like, it's for anybody
Name
else.
Dropper.
Yeah.
No.
It's the back catalog. She had one of those posters, but it was like the size of a door.
Oh, there you go.
I was like, damn, I don't know. It was just really cool to me because it's my favorite poster.
Well, I get that.
Oh, it is a good. Everybody look up the back catalog.
Yeah, the back catalog.
Yeah, it's a good picture. I like the ginger. I don't know.
Not my speed.
Not your speed? No, we'll have to talk about that one.
Yeah, that's a different pocket. We can break that whole thing down, I'm sure.
So a libertarian. No, I can't. I don't know how to.
No bringing it back on that. That's okay.
Yeah, we've gone way off the rails, but that's okay. Speaking of going off the rails, medical marijuana in Ohio you saw it getting legalized, which is suddenly a good thing apparently, because it's suddenly free. You can do it. No, it's just legal, which means the government has control of it now, and they're saying you might be able to use it. So it's went from, hey, you could use this, not legal, not illegal, wasn't written about. Like, it just existed.
That's what
There was no legal status for weed for a very long time. It was just marijuana. It was like flour, except it wasn't even touched by the FDA. And then all of a sudden it was acknowledged by the government and criminalized, and that's when it became illegal. And now it's still owned by the government, but they're slowly decriminalizing it in some situations, or in this situation they legalized it medically in Ohio.
And that's, on a grand scale, that's sort of like what we have and we don't realize. Like, so much of this legislation, so much of these rules, it's like our rights get taken away and then sold back to us.
Yeah, that's taxation. That's.
But repeat after me: you are free.
Yeah, exactly. We were 100% on the same page. But so, like, we both live in Ohio. For those of you who don't know that might be listening, do you you heard about it getting medically legalized, right? But
yeah, I was told about it.
Yeah, and people were talking about growing it and shit. But like, what does legal mean to you? Like, what did you think that meant? Like, what do you know so far? Because a lot of people. I'm just curious what.
I didn't really. So it was mentioned to me by someone who was excited about it. I didn't really follow up very much. I kind of just let him talk about it. Was basically, he was saying that he had to have a vaporizer because it was legal for him to have it, but not legal for him to burn it. I think something along the lines of it's illegal to have it, but not illegal to get it. Something like.
Does he have the medical prescription yet?
And see, that was the thing that was. When I heard this from this person, this is my initial thought was, here's someone who doesn't understand the legislation that's just been passed, and if you're walking around with this weed in your pocket, you're still going to get picked up. You're still going to get in trouble.
Officer, yes, I actually have this dab pen that I'm allowed to have, and the officer's going to be like, actually, we prosecute dabs as concentrates, which puts you in jail longer.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Which is another interesting thing. Here locally, Channel 10, I can't remember when they did it, but they did an article about dabs as the so-called crack of weed.
I've called them that forever. I beat them to that shit.
Okay, fair enough.
I swear to God.
Hey, there you go.
Fuck you, Channel 10. I'm calling you out here.
the crack of weed. So, yeah, I think this guy is in for a rude awakening as he walks around showing off his vaporizer.
You should say something to this poor kid.
I probably should have.
Yeah, I would be like, bro, like, no disrespect, but go read what you're allowed to do with that. Like, no, I know you read on Facebook it's legal. I know you saw the meme. Go read a news story.
But see, no, because then it comes back, because you know what? The cognitive dissonance is so strong with the 2016 American. You simply cannot tell someone something they don't already have a somewhat of an open mind to. He would retort back and forth all this and that, and I didn't want to waste my time with it for someone. What do I care on it? Like, deep down, not to be a dick, what do I care if this dude goes to jail for getting picked up for his 10 bag worth of vaporizer?
It's a risk, but you make friends. The ones that are receptive, I mean, that's how receptive people meet each other a lot of times, in my opinion.
This was also a dude who watches Fox News.
Listen,
and
I watch Fox
crack.
News,
I'm just saying, and was dissing on someone for watching only MSNBC.
I would diss on somebody who only watched MSNBC.
But you see this.
God damn it,
what
was
I'm
it me?
saying is no. But see, this is a person who I already can tell is rooted in, like, honestly, depending on how political you are, what your stance is when I talk to you, I can tell whether or not I should even bother having a conversation with you, because you probably don't care about what I have to say, and regardless of what facts I could present to you, it's just going to go one ear out the other. You're just waiting for your turn to talk and get out your little talking points you've heard for the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And so, I pick my battles out here, man. That's why we have this program, so I can mouth off. And maybe I can be like, hey, listen to my show one day. listen to RJ's show one day. We talked about this. Maybe that.
Our show.
Our
beautiful little baby.
Listen to our network. There we go.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, send them to the network bad dinner guest .blogspot.com.
Plug in.
But no, I understand what you're saying there, because there's a lot of times where I hear somebody speak and you can just tell, like, they're just trying to string together topical arguments that fit the narrative. And what I hear a lot of is the hippie narrative, which is like they're bringing down the greater consciousness. And I'm like, I kind of subscribe to evolution. And they're like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, Wait, what? So when did this
Come again?
greater consciousness occur in humans? Like, was it when we were still kind of apes, or just all the way human? When did that occur? When were we awoken? And like, was it a? I don't understand how you can be spiritual and evolutionary minded. And I guess you can be spiritual, but in a woke state. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
But-
part of that is goes into brain chemistry, and people don't understand how their own brains work.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole new podcast I would love to have someday on our network.
Oh, are you
because I've
talking
been
about how
dying to
drugs
talk about-
make you like
just
think
in
that you're
general,
outside? Okay.
It just people don't understand how their brain operates.
Yeah.
And there can be chatter between the two hemispheres. You know,
Not even taboo, but like it's bad.
like when
like-
it's talked about, even it's like in a whisper.
Okay.
You know,
but like
it's sort
most
of like a hush thing. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of people in my life that I know that are scared of it.
okay.
And some of those same people will drink 12 beers a day,
Mhm.
and then that part makes me laugh. But again, I just keep my mouth shut at this point. Who am I to?
Yeah, and you got to I don't think as many people realize that there's still a lot of America that's like that. I think we've been like, because we live in the city, we moved to the city or whatever. To get with people that are like-minded, we forget that there is a large portion of our state, especially, that is like on both sides of this. So our politicians, because again, I thought you were going to say you really didn't know anybody like that, but I forgot that you came from a small town too. I
Yeah.
thought you were from Columbus originally. I forgot. But yeah, no, essentially what I was getting at was just even like the most scared of it people will tell you that generally if you get them to talk about it. So, they get to play that side of the fence, but they're waiting 2 years for regulations, so they won't have to see any blowback from it if the dispensaries pop off, because doctors are writing out scripts for you saying you have sciatica rather than actually making you go through a checkup. So they won't have any of that blackout. And the pro weed is getting to see, hey, yeah, I'm gonna get to smoke weed soon, and they're not seeing any of the how long it's going to take and how hard it's going to be to potentially get, and then the cost that comes with you having to smoke it in vaporized form. Like, that's another huge thing. And this shit isn't insured. Like, your insurer isn't going to cover your fucking legal weed. Are you shitting me right now? So yeah, like they did it and limited it as much as they possibly fucking could, and then avoided any potential blowback. And I think that was completely strategic. But you and I both know, because we've been petitioned, there is other movements that are going to be on the ballot in Ohio to legalize it completely, and then there's a different medical legalization one, I think, as well.
Yeah, there have been several different ones throughout. Yeah, so we'll see where this one goes. This is a never-ending tale so far in Ohio.
I had an 88-year-old lady that was hunched over, like looked like your grandmother's mother, like, and just the frailest little old lady. I was at Comfest, which is like a local festival they have in Columbus, where essentially the cops guard you while you do drugs.
Yep.
And literally will refuse to make drug arrests.
And get naked.
Yeah.
Most of the women go topless
Literally,
with their breasts painted, and I've actually witnessed coitus on
yeah, I believe I saw a bitch getting fingered.
No, I
you
watched
saw
a
actual
girl
penetration.
Yeah, I saw a guy in gym shorts laying on his back.
Oh my God.
I'm assuming it was gym shorts because you couldn't see, and a girl wearing one of those big flower dresses, and she was on the top of him, and
They
it
were
was covering
tripping balls,
everything,
weren't they?
and they were just going, and I was sitting there just kind of like, wow, this is happening right now.
That's
and I want to film
hilarious.
it so bad, but I don't. But then I'm a pornographer. Like, the second I turn my phone on and say, oh my God, are you guys watching this?
That's how big of a joke the
sliced
drug
alone.
war is, though. They literally give them a like weekend festival, and they have literally. I had a friend over, and her sister, and wow, that tells you how anecdotal this story is. But her sister was mad because her sister, the sister's sister, was like offered prescription pills, and she told the cop, the guy that offered her the prescription pills, and pointed at him as he was hitting a blunt, and the officer told her, it's Comfest. Like, that's going to happen. And she's like, my sister's underage, and he's like, well, just don't bring her here. Like, that tells you what a joke the drug war is, though, that they are willing to do that, and there's never anything that happens there. They arrested a guy with a bunch of machetes this year. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah.
Good
Wow.
time to miss my first Comfest.
Yeah,
First
no, it
one
was
I missed.
prior. It was like early in the first like beginning hours of it. Like, he was basically like scoping it out probably, but he was mentally crazy. Like, he was crazy. I don't even know if I'm not going to speculate on if he was Somalian or not, but I don't know, the machete and just a terrorist attack in general.
And
we
you're
have
sure
a large,
it wasn't Danny Trejo?
yeah, it's just as likely to be some white punk kid with like some anti-drug agenda that's been fed by the media forever and hates hippies. So it could go either way. It's either an ISIS member or Republican, probably. And that's why I won't vote Trump. But yeah, no, it's them passing the buck. That's basically my commentary on it. Legalize all drugs, essentially. Like, I say essentially way too much, too. I don't know. Did we have anything else? We have strung this shit out a lot longer than I thought we would. Is there anything else you wanted to cover that we didn't make it to?
No, I mean, nope. Not that we can't save for Bread and Circuses on Sunday.
Fair enough. I don't even know that all of this uploaded live to YouTube. I might have to upload this later. If so, thank you to our live viewers. This is 60 Grit Radio. I'm RJ. We are on the Bad Dinner Guest Network, so check us out on Twitter at Bad Dinner Guests with an S at the end of it. Or just check out the blog, which is baddinnerguest.blogspot.com. I'm on Twitter. I rarely tweet at 60 Grit Radio. This is me checking out.
Nighty night.